Hello and welcome. I'm Phil Naylor and this is Tea with a Therapist. Please grab your tea and join me for a little chat. Well, I don't have a fireside. Maybe you have a fireside that you can join me at. It's end of April, but it's cold. It's actually even had a little bit of snow today. But anyway, this is my once a week talk, diatribe, whatever you want to call it, regarding issues around mental wellness and kind of personal development and psychotherapy in general. Talk a little bit about how we work and how we might deal with some of the things that we cope with on a day-to-day basis, or things that emerge out of our own sometimes angst and challenges of life. Anyway, today I'm talking about overwhelm, the subject of overwhelm. I'm picking this subject because it seems to be relevant not only to the people that I'm seeing right now, but also kind of to myself. I don't know what it is about this time of year. Everything seems to happen all at once. I had all the taxes to do, the end of the year taxes, get them in for the person that do my business taxes. And a bunch of things happen all at once, seeming together, car problems. My brake line in my car went. I had to do that. Then I had to get an alternator belt on my car fixed. And then the washing machine went. And then I had my briefcase. I take all my stuff back and forth. It just suddenly fell apart. And I have a stapler that I needed to use. It just fell. I don't know how a stapler falls apart, but this thing fell apart. And I had to go buy another stapler. My printer broke down. And several deadlines are pending. Plus there's all kinds of family thing, Easter, you name it, So all of this seems to be coming in all at once, plus a number of other personal challenges that I didn't even mention. But and this seems to be paralleled by some of the people that I'm seeing. That seems like stuff is happening. A whole bunch of stuff is happening. It just seems overwhelming. And overwhelm is one of those conditions that are, overwhelming, difficult to deal with, and also a common human experience. Overwhelm is one of those fundamental things that we try to want to avoid. And you kind of feel paralyzed when you get overwhelmed. Too many things going on. How are you going to manage this? And then that gives rise to all of our idiosyncratic issues and fears tend to kind of emerge and surface at this time. I sometimes say that we're kind of like a tube of toothpaste. Everything is great and the toothpaste tube is fine until external pressures squeeze it. And then that's when our insides come out. All those things that need to be healed sort of surface under pressure. When everything's going well, we're doing well, and it doesn't seem like we got a whole lot of issues to deal with. But then everything happens at once, or some sort of crisis happens. And so we tend to, all of our vulnerabilities and our fears they kind of tend to surface at these times. And sometimes these are they surface bigger issues that warrant some time to spend on. We need to make a life shift, a life adjustment. And sometimes it's an opportunity for our patterns to surface, and then to really examine those. That's when a crisis can be useful, is that's when change can happen. Crisis, the Chinese character for crisis, meaning both danger and opportunity. And sometimes crisis provides an opportunity to make some fundamental shifts that maybe we've avoided or should have made a long time ago. And that is where psychotherapy and the psychotherapeutic process can be helpful. Other times, we just kind of have to knuckle through these times, just like when all these car issues and taxes and everything else are going on all at the same time, and we just kind of have to get through it. So I've come up with a number of points or strategies that are helpful to help get through overwhelm. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these. Hopefully one or two of these might be helpful. Number one, don't listen to your head. All the fears, all the things that keep going, all the what ifs, what if I'm not going to do this, what if, all of your fears surface, and you got to stop listening to your head. You have to obviously problem solve, but you don't want to start, going all the way down, letting your thoughts go all the way down the path that they want to go down, and that all these things are going to happen, and all the catastrophe is going to happen. It sometimes feels like that, but actually it rarely does. And if it ever does, you have the capacity to deal with it when it does happen. You've done it all your life. So you want to sort of start to redirect your thoughts. Thought stopping can be helpful. If you start to think too much, you have too many thoughts and think about too many things and they're all going in a negative direction, you want to practice thought stopping, which is to stop the thought and redirect onto a positive other thought. So sometimes we select a thought in advance that we want to redirect to that's a pleasant thought, a supportive or empowering thought, usually some sort of memory or experience from the past. I can't remember, I may have gone over that in a little bit more detail, or I may go over that in more detail in a future a tea with a therapist. So I'm just touching lightly on that, but you want to put the brakes on your head and your thoughts going too far down all the paths that they want to go down. And second to that would be become mindful. And mindful is when you slow everything down to the very present in the here and the now. Just focus on one thing at a time. Don't let your mind go too far in the future or on the past. Just focus on this thing that you're doing right now. You might want to spend a little bit of time just prioritizing what is it that I need to do first, second, third here. Just write a list, prioritize, and then just focus on what you can do right now. Because if you're focusing on everything that's not getting done or everything that you need to do all at once, that just doesn't help you move the thing forward. Focus on doing one thing at a time and become mindful, and it'll detach a little bit from everything that's going on around you. So be here and be now. Be in the here and the now. Read any of the books by Eckhart Tolle. It would be very helpful for you to do at this time when you're feeling overwhelmed. The Power of Now is a very kind of keystone book that I recommend to most people, and it would be very helpful to spend a few minutes. And actually you can read Eckhart in various little sound bites that are very helpful. Thirdly, keep focused on what you want to happen or what your goal is, and not about what you don't want to happen or what you fear is going to happen. So there's a couple of analogies here. Sometimes they teach race car drivers when they're heading for the wall. If they're in a race car and they're speeding towards crashing into the wall, the rule is don't look at the wall. Shift your head in the direction of where you want to go. So you focus on where you want to go, and your body automatically starts to make the adjustments to take you there. And so it's very much with overwhelm. Don't focus on all the things that you don't want to happen. Focus on the thing that you do want to happen, or the outcome, or where you want to be in a shorter or longer period of time from now. So, and this relates to the analogy I sometimes use with the conscious and unconscious minds. So I sometimes say the conscious mind is like the captain of a cruise ship, and the unconscious like the crew of the cruise ship. And there's a few things about that. And one is that you can't turn a cruise ship immediately. It takes like 10 miles to turn a cruise ship. And it's the captain is the one that's in charge and sets the destination and the agendas and the goals and everything for the rest of the crew to follow. And it's the crew, though, that carries all those instructions out. The captain doesn't, once he gives the orders, just sits back and allows the crew to do that, because he wouldn't be able to do all those things. And so I sometimes say, you know, when we have a period of change coming, if we want to change, and we've got our cruise ship that's always going to one destination. Sometimes they use Scandinavia. They're always going to Finland. So they have been doing 10 years doing a Finland cruise, stopping in there. And even though people are kind of sick of going to Finland, and they're, you know, would even want to do something different, they know how to get to Finland. They know all the activities. They know the cuisine that they're going to use, and the Scandinavian related activities. And if the captain, though, one day says, okay, that's it, we're not going to Finland anymore, we're not doing the Scandinavian cruise thing, you know, that's it, stop. And that's all the information they give. And what is the crew going to do? You know, they're going to be confused. The crew goes down, the captain goes into his cabin and retires. So the crew's either going to figure out, oh, we're going to have to do something like go near Scandinavia, then we're going to have to go like cruise by Finland, even if we don't dock there. We're going to go near there, or we're just going to go around in circles because they don't know what to do. So it's not enough for the captain to say, stop doing this or stop going to this destination. Captain needs to give an instruction about what to do instead. So they need to articulate to the crew the new destination. If we're not going to Scandinavia, it says, okay, we're going to the Caribbean now. We're going on a Caribbean cruise. So, okay, navigator set a course for the Caribbean. Crew, you need to start to research, you know, cuisine. The kitchen crew needs to research Caribbean cuisine, and the entertainment crew needs to develop Caribbean related activities and all this sort of thing. And the captain may need to educate his crew about, you know, what's the Caribbean all about, what's the expectations, all those sorts of things. In other words, the captain has to keep creating a vision, keep talking, keep reinforcing the new destination. And that's when the cruise ship turns and starts heading to the Caribbean. And after the crew's done a few Caribbean runs, then that becomes the new normal, and you know how to do that. So, just like the race car driver, the captain needs to keep the focus on the new destination. If we keep focusing on the old destination or where not to go, that is not helpful for the crew, for the unconscious mind. So our conscious mind has to keep redirecting from the unconscious fears that keep emerging. Go, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And say, we're going here, we're going here, we're going here. Point out the new destination. Visualize what we're going to be doing next. Keep in mind what the outcome is going to be, what the end result is, what our goals are. So you want to focus on where you want to go, where you want to be, not on, you know, what you're afraid is going to happen. And so we need to consciously do that. Sometimes we do that through meditation, through visualization, through repetition, through writing out goals, through a vision board, all kinds of things. Normally it's just constantly just reinforcing to ourselves what our destination is. Sometimes what I find helpful is to talk out loud to yourself as opposed to talking internally in your head. So you want the positive, the negative voice is all in your head. And you want, if you just try and argue with your negative voice inside your head, usually the negative voice wins. But if you say all the positive things, imagine being the coach and telling yourself where you're going and what you're doing next and how we're going to get there, and it's all going to be okay. You know, be kind of a cheerleading squad. You know, if you say that out loud, that can overwhelm the negative voice and silence that a lot easier than if you're trying to do it in your head. So try out loud coaching to yourself. That can be very helpful. A couple of other things is talk to supportive people. Talk to a friend, a spouse, somebody can encourage you, put some perspective on things, get you out of your own thinking and mindset. So having good supportive people, that can be very helpful. Even on an online group, if you have interacting online with a group or Facebook group or your friends or something, you know, get some support, get some insight, get some other kinds of voices in your head. And along that line, feed your head with some supportive, positive materials. This is a good time to read personal development stuff, listen to audio books that have a positive perspective, positive spin, have practical insights into how we work, help provide with new attitudes and viewpoints. All of that stuff is providing new material for your head. It's also providing that new direction of where to go to instead of where you don't want to go. Also, at these times, minimize the other stimulation, especially negative stimulation. Stop watching the news for a bit, you know, limit your internet surfing, especially any kind of negative stuff, news stuff or negative people that are on there. You want to shut all that stuff down. You want to just simplify your inputs, reduce those negative inputs so that you can focus on the positive and getting things done. Make some time for breathing and meditation. Okay, even though we're overwhelmed, we need just 5 or 10 minutes, maybe twice a day, just breathing, meditation, and some physical exercise. Getting out, getting your blood stirred by doing some running or some other kind of exercise is very important. You, again, shifting that state, right? You get locked into a state. Talked about this at a previous one. Shift the state. And then finally, just know that this too shall pass. This too shall pass. You're not going to be stuck in perpetual overwhelm. We find our way through, we navigate our way through these things. We start to take care of each piece at a time. Sometimes we really have to knuckle under and get some work done and get focused and do it. But sooner than later, usually we're getting through those things. Or we work through stages of things. Just like with grief, sometimes if we lose somebody who's dear to us, we have grief, and that's a very overwhelming thing, and we work through grief in stages. So we're not over grief instantly, and but it can come in waves. Sometimes you're overwhelmed with it. Sometimes it's not on our minds, and that comes back on us. And then we go through various elements of processing that. Some people say, resistance and anger and the various things, finally through to acceptance. So it unfolds in stages. So we go through various stages of working through whatever process, ever difficulty, various things that are overwhelming us, whether it's a relationship issue or whatever. We go through stages of it, and each stage sort of comes to an end. And so even if the whole big picture isn't done quickly, stages of that is. And we adapt, and the resources come forward that enable us to manage those things a lot better. So those are just a few helpful hints and tools, strategies that you might want to try. So seems to be spring and fall for some reason seem to be overwhelming. There's lots of change again happens at those times. There's changes and transitions, and I don't know if there's new energies rising or whatever in the springtime, and changing energies in the fall as the seasons adjust from one sort of major way of being to from a winter stage to a summer stage, and vice versa, summer to winter. There's something about the changes of the cycles of what's going on that kind of feeds into all of this as well. Okay, so that is my input for today. I hope that this can be beneficial. I'm looking for any kind of feedback from anyone. If you have any comments that you'd like to provide, or suggestions about anything you'd like to hear, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or share with friends or whatever. Give me some feedback to help me shape what's helpful for you. Until then, I'm Phil Naylor. Enjoy the rest of your tea, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.